Good afternoon and welcome to our podcast, Diary of a CIO. I am Sarah Paulson and I am one of the directors at Fruition Consulting. I'm really delighted to welcome Andy Burton today. I've been really looking forward to this one. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, great, thank you. So very quick intro to Andy. Andy started his career as a technical consultant for Barclays before a 4-year stint at KPMG, and then has completed director/C-level roles for big organisations such as Sky Bet, before moving into the Stars Group, the Very Group, and Andy is currently CTO at eShore. Andy lives in Leeds. He's an avid Stoke City fan and enjoys music and travel in his free time. So really delighted to welcome Andy. And we've got a series of questions to ask you today, Andy, about life as a CIO. So I'll get stuck in if that's okay.
Brilliant. Yeah, let's do it.
Good. So Andy, when did you know you wanted to be a CIO/CTO? Was it one of your childhood dreams and aspirations?
I'm
going to take that as a no.
I doubt anyone's ever answered yes to that, to be honest. It's a good question, because it was only after I was the CTO that I realised that that's actually what I enjoyed doing. I never kind of thought, I want to be a CTO. I started in the early days of my career. I was a kind of hands-on developer.
Right.
And yeah, I spent quite a lot of time, coding, developing software for many years before I kind of got into the consulting and stuff that you talked about there. So, and I never at that point thought, actually, what I really want is to be a CTO. It's kind of what's kind of driven me was, I suppose, a number of things. It's partly wanting to do a good job is a big part of it. Not wanting to mess up is another part of it. Actually, that's a good motivator.
Yeah.
I think enjoying variety, and so I've worked in lots of different sectors, from financial services to telco to ISP to betting to retail to I've worked in lots of different sectors, and I enjoy that kind of variety. And I think that's by doing that and getting that exposure to all different types of people, type ways of working, platforms, problems to solve, opportunities to grasp, etc. That's when I kind of realized that that's what I really enjoy doing. And it kind of, I think it just happened. There's an opportunity to keep progressing my career. And, if you, especially if you're working in a core part of the business and doing a decent job, those opportunities quite often kind of present themselves.
And was there a kind of fork in the road where you had to make a decision in terms of where your career was going to go that led you there, or did it just naturally happen?
Well, that's an interesting one. I think it probably was early on when I kind of realised that I wanted to move away from being a software engineer, a developer. I kind of realised that actually I was never going to be the world's best, and I've probably been doing it for 10 years, and I wanted to get into other aspects of tech. And so I did a number of things. Some kind of architecture, some project management, and some service management. And I think it's probably when I joined the reason that I joined KPMG Consulting was because I'd up to that point I'd been very much a techie. Everything I've been doing had been very technical. I've been performance tuning Oracle databases and optimizing networks and all sorts of things. And I realized that actually I was getting more and more interested in business, not just the tech side of it, but actually sort of driving good business outcomes. And that's when I joined KPMG, because I wanted to get that opportunity to get a really sort of commercial exposure in the sort of leading consultancy, the opportunities that you get from that. And I found that you're absolutely in at the deep end, way outside your comfort zone, time and time again. And it's not nice at all. The first few times it's really not nice, but by going through that and kind of coming out the other side in one piece, and really, I think that's the thing, that the 4 years I spent there, I learned more than I had done probably in the kind of 15 years of my career up to that point.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned that your career spans multiple different kind of sectors, industries. Do you think having that industry knowledge at your level is just irrelevant then? Do you think you can just jump into any sector and be effective in a role as CIO or CTO?
It's an interesting one, actually, because where I work at the moment at the eSure Group, that's my first exposure to working in the insurance sector. So I've got to say yes. I think you can get into a new sector and succeed. Because I think what we've just done at eSure, the transformation program that we've just done over the last 3 years, has been a big success. So I think yes, but I think you have to. There's two bits to it. So on the one hand, the more you work around different sectors and different firms within the same sector as well, but especially across different sectors, you see patterns. You get to recognise similarities, and you can bring one of the things that I feel I can do as a result of that is bring fresh perspectives. Just as a simple example, when I joined eSure, what we've just done is to replace all the tech platforms, new applications, and as part of it, we had to migrate the insurance book from the legacy platforms onto new. And the kind of perceived wisdom in the insurance sector is that you do that as the policy renews. So as a customer's policy comes up for renewal, you move it across to the new platform at that point, and it takes probably 15 months to do it all. And I came in and said, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just do it whenever you want to do it? And why would you just in the middle of the contract, in the middle of the policy, rather than wait until renewal? So just things like different perspectives that you can bring. Having said all that, you do have to learn a business, and you have to learn it really fast as well. You can't be, as a CIO, CTO, you can't be sat in the exec and being in front of the boards if you don't know anything about the business. So you do have to get around and learn it really quickly.
How do you do that in a tech-focused, tech-enabled business? I understand if you work in retail, you can get into the stores and you can work with your colleagues and really look and feel what that business looks like. But in a business like eSure that's selling, purely selling their insurance products online, how do you get to really understand the nuts and bolts of that business?
I think it's one of the things that I've learned, again, kind of moving out of the pure tech role, that you have to really invest in those relationships with people all around you. So spending time in my first couple of months when I joined eSure, it was about spending loads of time with my colleagues on the exec. So the chief claims officer, getting to really understand, they were very, very willing, very kind with the time to, invest to kind of get me up to speed with their specific parts of the business. And I think really investing in building those relationships so that, we're kind of messaging each other all day long as an exec. We're constantly in touch with each other. So, we know what's going on. You kind of, through osmosis partly, you kind of get up to speed of it quickly if you invest in it and build those relationships. Okay.
And obviously you've worked at this sort of level for quite some time now, and any C-level, director level role is demanding, right? But you've done that role for a number of, always on businesses. How do you balance professional and personal home life in that role and in those type of industries that you've worked?
Yeah, it's interesting. So if you think about, I started in tech in 1987. That's my first job as a developer. The world then was so different. Within technology, it's just, well, the whole world was different, of course. So at that point, obviously we didn't have mobile phones. It wasn't 24/7. So you get to 4 or 5 o'clock on a Friday, that's it. You'd be out of there. You didn't need to think about it till 9 o'clock on Monday. Whereas if you compare that with an online retailer or an online betting company like Sky Bet, that really is 24/7, and every day of the week there's big loads of traffic that you need to handle, and that's if you're successful as we were at Sky Bet, that's growing and growing. Every year it's getting more and more. There's more to deal with. I think you have to enjoy it in the first case. I think I certainly don't always get the work-life thing right. It's, as a CTO, you got to the number one thing for me is making sure that you're secure and stable. If you're leaking data, you're in big trouble. If you're getting ransomware, and if your sites are down, if your app's down, and people can't buy what they want, they can't bet on what they want, they can't get an insurance policy. It's probably less. It's definitely less intense in insurance than it is in retail and online gaming and online betting. But so it can be all consuming, and I think you need to be the sort of person that's okay with that, and it really helps if it's something you're passionate about. So in case of Sky Bet, sport, that's the main part of the business, and as a huge sports fan and football fan, it's not it's something you're really passionate and interested about anyway.
And do you think you almost and it's a bit of a controversial question, but do you think you almost have to forego work-life balance to be able to get to your level? Maybe at your level you can achieve that, but do you think that has to go out the window and you have to put career first and sometimes sacrifice things outside of work?
I think it's I think there's definitely times when that's true. Yeah. I think it depends entirely on the type of company. Your colleagues, your boss, CEO usually. The stage of that company. If it's in hyperscaling mode, then it's going to be very hard to switch off at 5 o'clock and not worry about it until next morning. If it's much more static, then obviously it's a bit different. So there's loads of factors coming into play there. But I think there's generally there's always going to be times. If you got a major production incident going on, or if you've got some horrible ransomware attack or whatever, then you need to be there. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that you are coming to the end of a kind of major transformational role at eSure. How do you keep motivated? What keeps you interested as a CIO, CTO when you're in that BAU state, when you've kind of done all of that transformational stuff? Does that still keep you going every day, or is that when it's time for you to kind of think about what's next? I think it's I think it kind of firstly it's about recognizing that you are moving into a very different state. So where we are, we've been running this program for the last nearly 3 years. We've just completed it. We migrated all the policies and claims across to the new platform. We completed that just a couple of weeks ago now. So we're now moving into the next stage. We've kind of done that big transformation. What the next stage is all about. Really leveraging that platform, exploiting the platform. We've got an amazing platform. They're probably, without exaggerating, the best general insurance platform in the UK. It's all cloud-based. Okay. We took the opportunity to start with a blank sheet of paper, and we kind of built and integrated something that gives us a real competitive edge. In theory, and what we need to do now is actually make that happen. So and not just the platform, but the kind of the agile ways of working that we've implemented. You can do so much when you're doing a big transformation program. It's hard to be as agile as you really want to be at times. And I think where we are now, we're just moving to the next phase, which is the kind of where we really double down on kind of agile delivery, double down on really improving the customer experience. It's always, when you're doing a transformation like this, it's always quite hard, especially through the migration phase, to deliver a perfect customer experience. And we've not always been able to do that. That's really the focus now. It's switching as a company, instead of talking about this big transformation program and tech delivery, we're now really able to focus fully on the customer experience, making sure we're delivering for our customers. But it does, as you say, it's a different mindset, it's a different state. I enjoy both of them. I've really enjoyed the last few years, but the bit that's coming up now, and I've been in this situation before, it's really different focuses. So it's really focusing on and it probably may sound wrong to some people, but really focus on people and culture. You'd hope that you're always doing that, but it's a bit harder. Some of that stuff goes out the window a little bit when you're up to your ears in transformation, or you're trying to migrate millions of policies and so on. So it's really doubling down on kind of agile ways of working, putting people and culture at the heart of it. The customers, obviously, customer obsession. It's all that stuff, and those, there's kind of incremental gains. Just regularly delivering new stuff and hopefully seeing the key metrics going in the right direction as a result. Yeah, there's definitely two types of CIOs, isn't there? There's people that go in very much and just deliver that transformation piece and then move on, and there seems to be people that are happy to do the BAU state as well. Do you think that's why we're starting to see shorter and shorter tenure in kind of C-level roles? I think the average seems to be sort of 2 to 3 years, probably nearer 2. Is that why, do you think people are just going through that different stages of what the business is doing? Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. Yeah, I think you're right. Some people do naturally want to be that transformational CTO. They want to come in and they kind of, I was going to say hit and run, but deliver it and go off and do the next one. I think what I say, I personally enjoy doing that, but actually I probably prefer the other side of it more, which is that kind of, doing something. Sky Bet's good. It's a good example. I was CTO there for nearly 10 years actually, and because of the growth and because we were constantly launching new products, it was a different company. We launched overseas. We sold the business twice, so it's constantly changing and kind of going again and again. Especially when you're scaling, you're hiring. You need to hire more and more people. You've got more and more customers to look after. The amount of traffic on the platform is getting bigger and bigger. So you have to you can have everything working really well, and you can get into a really good place, and then suddenly it's gone. It's like something's happened and it's gone, and you've got to really go again. You've got to scale everything and get it back under control and get it all optimized. And then again, you get to that period where it's all okay. And if the business is really scaling quickly, you need to keep going. That's what I enjoyed. That kind of long term. Kind of sustaining it over and over again.
Yeah.
Not just doing an increment, not doing a big change and then going off and leaving someone else to kind of take it forwards.
Was Sky Bet your longest tenure?
Yeah, it was by quite a long way at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's finding those organisations that are going through those, that are acquisitional and kind of making those big changes that allow you to do that. What do you think's been your biggest achievement to date then in your career of the roles that you've done?
I think it's two things that stand out. I think one is the transformation. I'm really proud of the transformation we've just driven at eSure. It's plenty of other insurers in the UK have tried to do the same thing. They've spent phenomenal amounts of money and then kind of cancelled it and written it all off. It's this transformational, that sort of change, that level of change is risky, and it doesn't always work. So the fact that we've actually pulled it off, is a big achievement. The fact that we got to where we are now, we've got this platform, and we can really grow the business on it. So that, I think, because also within that, of course these things never go to plan, but we had some pretty big sort of macro things to deal with. So for example, COVID, we started during COVID. We had about nearly getting off 700 people. Mostly, a lot of them were partners, but they were working all over Europe and further afield. Just very, very little face-to-face contact through this big transformational program. We had war in Europe. We had some people in Ukraine. We had some in Belarus and Russia and other countries. So we kind of had that. We had quite a lot of these big things to deal with that made it harder. But actually, we got to the end of it. We delivered what we needed to do. So that's a really big standout achievement, I think. Yeah.
And why do you think you were able to succeed doing that at eSure when so many other big insurance companies have failed and shelf projects of this nature?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a number of things there. I think partly it's always down to the people and the relationships and interactions. Having the right people on the pitch in the first case is absolutely essential. Yeah. I think, and having a mix of people and kind of mix of skills, mix of mindsets. So another big thing was the approach that we took to it. So when I joined, we were in the middle of this really sort of prolonged series of workshops. There was like dozens and dozens of workshops, and I kind of came in and said, look, we need to do some discovery. Clearly we can't just dive into coding. We need to do some discovery, but we can't overdo it. We need to get, in the early stage of the program, a key thing was to build an MVP and start shipping code and get it on a live platform for friends and family, so we can start using it, start getting feedback and build it out. And I think that was certainly a really pivotal change. I joined just as program had started up, and that was a really pivotal change that we need to take this kind of lean agile approach to delivery. If we spend the next 6, 9, 12 months building software and then put it in front of somebody, go live with it, we probably will fail. So breaking it down into an MVP with that kind of iterative incremental delivery was a really key part of it.
Is there anything you would have done differently, reflecting on the kind of end state? I know you're not at end state now, because you've got this finessing to do with the team and culture piece. But is there anything you would have done differently to deliver?
Yeah, it's funny because they say that on a program like that, in this case it was almost exactly 3 years in kind of delivery. They say that at the end of it, you've kind of worked everything out. You've got exactly the right team. You've got all the right people on the pitch. You've sorted out your ways of working. You've got everything. You're absolutely buzzing at that point. And if you could start in that state, you'd do it in probably 12 months instead of 3 years. That's the truth of it. So you have all those points along the way where you realise, actually this isn't working very well. And I think the key thing is you have to kind of, well, ideally recognize before it's a real problem. But, you know, if when you do recognize these problems, and it can be anything, it can be down to individuals, it can be down to ways of working, culture, it can be, you know, communications, you know, there's all sorts of reasons for it. But you have to kind of, when you recognize it, you have to adapt, you have to, you know, act on it. You have to sometimes do fairly big pivots. You know, sometimes it's just not the right person in a particular role, and you need to, you know, move people around into different positions. You need to look at the squad structure. You need to, the ways of working, constantly kind of tweaking to make sure you're getting that right. So that, you know, all those things constantly is kind of how you get there, I think.
Yeah. So that kind of adapting, continuous improvement, and I guess you've got to make difficult decisions. Is that
yeah, totally. And you know, we had and some of those difficult decisions are quite often around individuals, you know, so you might have somebody leading a particular area, and for whatever reason it's just not working. So it's about kind of recognizing that and look, you know, dealing with that and working out different ways of going forwards. I think there's kind of that side to it. There's things like the structure, you know, the team structures, the kind of ways of working, knowing, you know, getting a balance between. A big thing for me was it can't be delivery at all costs. Now, a lot of people on the program I've just been on would probably feel it was delivery at all costs. I don't think it was quite, but you have to do stuff in a sustainable way. You can't kind of do a program like this and everyone kind of flops across the line and are all half dead, you know, because we need to go again now. You know, we want people who are really up for it, really motivated to kind of go again and keep going. So it's about making sure that you know, things like tech debt, that you're making some sensible, conscious decisions about that. You're not cutting, you know, you're always going to want to get stuff live as fast as you can, but you've got to do it in a, you know, a sustainable way that's not just going to create massive problems, you know, once you've actually got the thing live.
Yeah. And what are the kind of, I guess, best bits and worst bits about being a CIO? You shared some of the challenges there, but for you, what are the best things and
the best things, the things I enjoy most? I think it's well, there's a number of things. So one is success, you know, so when you get to a point where you're delivering, especially, you know, if you're doing this whilst you're scaling, so that makes it a lot harder, but getting to the point where you're delivering a really solid customer experience, you know, everything just works like it should all the time. You know, it's clearly not always like that. So getting to that point where you can just carry on delivering so that it's never, you know, when customers want to use the services, they can. That's a really important thing. I think improvement, you know, is really important, you know, so getting better at everything that we're doing all the time. I think, and certainly hiring and developing, and, you know, focus on people as well. So especially seeing people, you know, I've worked a place where you see people, they might have joined a technology team from, I don't know, contact center, or they might have joined on a service desk or whatever, you know, so some fairly entry level roles who, you know, over a period of time get to the point where they're, you know, more and more successful. They're taking on bigger roles, bigger challenges, and, you know, and developing themselves within the team. Yeah, that's always really good to see. Yeah.
And what about the worst bits?
The worst bits, the opposite of that, when things go horribly wrong, when you have, you know, somebody's trying to ransomware you, somebody's kind of, you know, on your network, when you've got stability issues, you know, when you know, the site's down, you've got customers, you know, absolutely slaughtering you on social media because they can't get onto you know, you feel that.
Does that impact you? Is it, you know, if you get that negative feedback on social media, that impacts you at your level?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's been like, I think it depends on the sector. Betting, online betting is really bad for that. People, if they can't, you know, cash out the bet, they're going to let the world know about it, let them know how bad they are and how bad the company is, how bad the CTO is. And I think it's been some cases been like that for a while. I think what you see more and more is unhappy customers who will reach out on LinkedIn, or they'll email, you know, people like myself directly because they're just not getting a good enough service, not getting the problems resolved fast enough. So we get quite a lot of that. And, you know, of course it's never good, but I mean, it's good to get that direct feedback from customers. That's, you know, one of the important things here. We need to be acting on it, of course, but it's good to have those direct touch points.
Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned ransomware attacks a couple of times in this conversation. Is that what keeps you up at night in as a CIO? Is that the main kind of thing?
I think security and stability. I mean, security is always the big one. If there's so many businesses that have had huge problems as a result of not either just not investing enough in security or not taking it seriously or just a mistake. So that's always going to be front of mind for me as a CTO. Closely followed by stability. If your products, if your sites are down, you're letting your customers down, you're probably losing a load of money as well. So that's always really front of mind. And then, once on a good day, when everything's working well, it's then about kind of moving on. It's like, how do we keep improving? How do we increase our velocity and get more product in front of customers faster? And how do we really sort of drive innovation across the whole business? So there's lots of things. And, I kind of think of a pyramid like almost a hierarchy of needs with kind of security at the bottom. You've got to get that right. And then stability, and then kind of delivery, and then proper innovation on the top of it. And
thinking about innovation then, as an individual, how do you personally keep current with innovation and trends across all these different sectors that you work in your roles?
There's a few things. It's different at different times. Again, over the last couple of years, it's been a bit harder to do some things that I normally do just because of the pressure of the program. But within that, it's about trialing stuff. So within the program, that's an opportunity to innovate and try different things. Innovate for me, it's about it might be about something like Gen AI. It might be about other kind of tech innovations, but it's also about how you work, and it's about you can cover quite a wide range of things. So I'm always things like reading blogs from tech analysts, going to conferences. A big one is hiring really good people actually, and learning from them. Doing hack days and stuff like that to learn from people, inviting others in as well who don't even work for you to get involved in hack days. It's always a good way again to sort of broaden it, because I find that that's actually how I learn quite a lot from people around me now. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think having a mentor or mentoring is a really positive thing that we see across businesses internally and externally. Are there any kind of standout people that have had a really positive impact on your career that you can share with us? And why?
I think it is really important. It's something I probably would have benefited me if I'd realised it earlier in my career, actually. I think there have been some kind of serendipitous things along the way there, which have kind of helped. I think probably one of the best examples actually is my old boss, Richard Flint at Sky Bet. So, he obviously is a CEO of a rapidly growing online betting company, part of a huge Sky brand, Sky business at that time. He's coming from a very different place that I was as an ex-developer. So I think getting that commercial focus, that being prepared to take bigger risks than I was previously used to, think about things differently, and the pace and the breadth of what you're thinking about, and having to juggle so many things at once. I learned a lot from working closely with Richard. Definitely a good example there.
Yeah. And has there been any kind of body at a CIO level, or who's been your kind of maybe manager at an earlier stage in your career that's kind of impacted you?
Yeah, I think naturally all your bosses do to a degree, and some in good ways and some in bad ways. There's no doubt about it. And I can't give names away, but definitely there's people I've worked with earlier in my career, whether it's my direct manager or my CTO at the time or CIO at the time, who you see things, think, oh, I really like the way they did that, and I think this is, when they do this in a certain way, that's something, and you kind of note all these things. You see things that you think are good examples of how to be a leader, and conversely you see really bad examples, and you kind of make a note, God, I'll never do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you mentor anybody now directly, or I'm sure indirectly you obviously do that, but outside of your direct reports, do you play that role for anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I've got, over the years, I've done quite a bit. It's something I enjoy doing. So I've got, a couple of people who, it's funny actually, I've got one person who applied for a job with me a while ago, and in the end, and I offered him it, and actually he decided he was going to stay. He got a counter offer. He decided he was going to stay where he was, But then, and I really liked this. I liked this about him. He got back in touch with me afterwards and said, "Thanks. By the way, would you mind mentoring me?"
Okay.
so
Thanks
so
for
I've had that.
thanks.
Yeah, and I was happy to do that because I think he's a really good person with loads of potential. I think he'll do really well. So I've got a couple of people like that, and then I guess both within, so mentoring people within eSure, but not directly in tech team as well. I found that works well if you've got a mentor in a different part of a business. Yeah, I had a mentor at one point outside tech team, and I learned a lot from that personally.
Yeah, absolutely. That's quite often having that breadth of experience. And you talked about the impact that Richard had in your career, who isn't in a technology role, then it's definitely beneficial. Just coming on to that, then there's going to be lots of people watching this who have seen your career and been interested in what you've done, and probably people that have worked in your teams before that have progressed, and now perhaps considering stepping up into these senior leadership roles themselves. What pieces of advice would you give to anybody who is aspiring to achieve the kind of C-level role next in their career?
I think I'd say firstly find out more about it. I think and it's kind of one thing that I like is have within a tech team, any tech team, is to have kind of dual career paths. So people who want to be people leaders, people managers on the one hand, and people who want to be really great technologists on the other hand.
Yeah.
And I think to be a CTO, you need to be in the first category. A big part of it is about leading groups of people through change and building a kind of focus on the culture. So I think it's about starting to get those experiences of leading just small numbers of people and then bigger team, leading a squad and then leading a number of squads. So looking for opportunities to do that. But I think really importantly, spending time with your CTO, your CIO, or heads of tech or whatever to understand more about the role. I mean, I find that often most people really quite enjoy talking about. If you go and ask them, they enjoy talking about themselves.
Absolutely.
and about their career, and they're very happy, often usually to share, lots of stuff with people. So but it's quite rare for people to go and ask in the first case. So I think by doing that, by you kind of setting yourself apart a little bit in the first case by going and having those conversations with people. So I think find out more about the job through that. I think really importantly, get feedback on yourself. Again, not many people go out and ask for feedback, but actually, I've seen people who do that and have really acted on it and really, progressed their career as a result of that. So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, you've definitely got to be bold and brave, I guess, if you want to get up to that level. Yeah,
it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. I've seen people not at CTO level, but they think they want to be a manager, or they feel that might be the only way they can earn more money, or whatever it is. And I've promoted people into that role, and after a few months they say, I want to leave. I'm handing my notice in, I want to leave because I'm not enjoying it. I'm saying, well, look, you don't need to leave. You can be a principal engineer or whatever it is. Be that tech guru if that's the thing that you're interested in. You don't have to go somewhere else. So it's about, I guess, you feel your way into it to a degree as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's like you said, it's understanding those different career routes are available. Because I think a lot of people think, well, I have to go into management to progress, when quite often that isn't the case, particularly in technology.
I think that's right. And I think for me, people that are people managers in my team, they need to really want to do it for the right reasons, because they've got massive responsibility there to really develop and motivate and inspire a bunch of technologists. It might be a handful of people in the squad, it might be 200 people in department, but as a tech leader, that's one of the most important things that you need to do. Now, I'm not saying that I always do this and I always get it right, but I know that is really, really such a critical thing. And if you're not up for it, you're not interested in learning how to be a leader in the same way that you've learned how to be an amazing coder or whatever, then it's probably not the right sort of career path for you. Yeah,
absolutely. Good advice. I'll bottle that and sell it on. Final question, and actually this question has come from somebody who we met previously on this podcast. So Dave Cutts, who is CTO at BuzzBingo, so has worked has a similar background to you actually. He's asked the question that CIOs come from different backgrounds. Some come from a technical background, some come from the business background or other backgrounds. In your opinion, what background or experience makes the best CIOs in today's modern era, and why?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to be slightly biased here. I mean, I think people who come from a tech background themselves, I think there's an interesting thing here, of course. The bigger, the sort of broader your remit becomes, and it's at some point before being a CTO, but at some point maybe kind of a role or two roles before that, you start getting into a position where you're now managing a bunch of people who are doing a job that you've never done. So for me, it might be web design. I'd come from a kind of an engineering point of view and a platform point of view. I'd never done any web design, and suddenly I've got a design team that I'm responsible for and that I need to lead. So you kind of, I think you're always going to get to the point where you've got people or teams of people who are doing stuff that you don't know inside out. That's part of that kind of development as a leader, and you kind of you have to kind of recognize that and work out how you add value and how you can support and really add value to that. So I think someone from a tech background, but you've got to have the other things as well. So the really key stuff is about people leadership. It's about having clear sort of sense of direction, leading people through change, to that North Star that you're trying to get to. It's about being able to make stuff happen. And I think you've got, so as a CTO, it's like when I'm sat with the exec or the board, we don't talk about technology. We do not get into tech detail, right. It's all about, business outcomes, or it's about people and culture, or it's about, inclusion and diversity. It's about a whole bunch of different things, ESG, all sorts of stuff, rather than growing the business. We don't get into tech detail. And again, would-be CTO, it depends on the nature of the company, but that's what I found in most companies. That's the case, unless you're working for an actual tech company, whose entire job is hardware or software or something. You're probably not going to be talking a lot of tech detail in your or probably shouldn't be talking a lot of tech detail in your exec meetings. So I think coming from that background, but you've got to have all those other things that I just touched on, including that strong commercial focus. And I think I think people that do well, people that come from maybe from kind of delivery focused program management, so they worked with techies. They may not have been a developer or an engineer, but they've worked in that environment. They've kind of bridged between tech and the rest of the business. I think again, that's good skills. But then, and you can't stereotype this, but I think you need all-round people as well, people who are not just focused on delivering a program or a particular business outcome, but are really focused on the drive and building the culture and the right sort of sustainable culture and ways of working as you go. So, they can come from anywhere. That was a long way of saying it can come from anywhere, but I'd always have a bias for somebody who's come from a fairly strong tech background.
But that commercial element is becoming more and more important. I've heard that from a few people, that you've got to be really commercially minded to succeed in a role at that level in today's kind of world.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for me. It's about and that goes back to your earlier question about, do you need to understand the business? And the answer is not on day one, but you need to get to understand the business quickly, because what you don't ever want to be as a tech team or as a CTO is just some kind of order taker. You're there. You're not just there to support the business. You're there to you are the business. You're there to drive the business, to grab new opportunities. Yeah, you've got to take care of all the basics, of course you do, but it's about really working with your colleagues around the rest of the exec to go out and grab all those new opportunities.
Brilliant. Andy, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed chatting to you this afternoon and hearing your insights into life as a CIO. It's been really interesting. You've done some brilliant roles, and hopefully our audience will have found that really useful. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Really nice to meet you, Sarah. Thank you.